What's going on, guys? It's Dramon back with another episode of NBA Talk, and Tim Duncan has finally decided to retire after 19 years. So I guess there's only one question left to ask. Is he the best power forward ever? Now, before we debate whether or not TD is the best PF in the NBA, let me share my favorite Tim Duncan moment of all time. And to be completely honest with you, there's not a lot to choose from. Growing up a Laker fan, the Spurs were our arch rival. And as a young fan, I hated the Spurs with all my heart. Everything about them, their coach, their logo, their uniform, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. I hated everything about the Spurs because they were basically anti-Laker, and as a young impressionable fan, that was just like a slap in the face. But as I got older and more mature, I grew a real appreciation for what Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan have been doing down in San Antonio, and when they displayed the best 5-on-5 basketball in the history of mankind in the 2014 NBA Finals, I had zero legitimate reasons to hate on the Spurs. Plus, Tim Duncan's career hasn't really been that exciting. I mean, there wasn't an 81-point game by Tim Duncan or the shot by Tim Duncan.
Good! The game's over and the Bulls have won.
It would have been this.
He gets doubled, Shaq all over him. He gets away, a fadeaway. He makes it with 4:10 left.
But D. Fish had to do this.
They get it to Fisher. He scores! Derek Fisher scores at the buzzer. It'll have to be reviewed. They'll review it. The Lakers are going to run to the dressing room and they'll try to get on the plane before the officials can get over to the scorer's table.
So while I could pick one of Tim Duncan's championship moment as my favorite one of all time, the most entertained that I've ever been by Tim Duncan was when he got ejected by Joey Crawford for simply laughing on the bench.
Free throw and a technical foul called. I think it's on Tim Duncan sitting on the bench. Popovich doesn't like that one either. And another technical foul. And this was when Duncan's out of the game. He's thrown Duncan out of the game.
We all know Joey Crawford has a big personality, and you may not like that in a ref, but you gotta admit, this was a hilarious moment. And that moment where Tim Duncan was laughing his butt off and then went straight into serious mode is a classic all-time Tim Duncan moment in my opinion, which is why it's my favorite one of all time. But now we gotta be serious. Is Tim Duncan the best power forward of all time? And to me, it comes down to a three-man race. Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, and Kevin Garnett. When you look up the numbers for Tim Duncan, you'll be in awe. Top 5 in blocks, top 15 in points, 6 in rebounding, shot 50% from the field for his entire career. But my favorite stat is the 70% regular season win percentage. Think about that. Tim Duncan won 70% of his regular season games in his entire career. That's really good, but not as great as Sun Yue's 90% win percentage in the regular season for his career. Now look, KG's my guy, and if I were to build a prototypical power forward that could do a bunch of stuff on the floor, it would definitely be Kevin Garnett, but he just didn't win as much as Tim Duncan, especially when you compare the tail ends of their career, where KG definitely showed his age and Tim Duncan was an integral part on a historic team. As for Karl Malone, while I'll probably put my money on Malone in a one-on-one matchup against Tim Duncan in their primes, this isn't about that. And when you look at the whole body of work by each player, Tim Duncan makes Karl Malone look like, well, Charles Barkley. Timmy was a pro's pro, a winner's winner, a rock, just solid. And I really feel for the San Antonio Spurs fan base because they're losing a legend, an icon in that community. Ever since they drafted him, the Spurs have been a model franchise that the rest of the NBA has been trying to replicate for years now, but has not been successful at. So yeah, while you might pick KG, Dirk, Charles Barkley, or Karl Malone, even Kevin McHale on a one-on-one matchup against Tim Duncan, when you look at the body of work and talk about the best power forward in a 5-on-5 setting, which is what the NBA is, Tim Duncan is the best power forward ever to play the game. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below with your top 5 lists of power forwards of all time. My name's Jaron. This has been NBA Talk. Catch you in the next one. Peace. Then will get enough impact protection, while quick guards will get enough responsiveness, but explosive players are going to benefit the most thanks to a hollowed out court in between the Zoom Air unit. To be completely honest with you, the materials found here remind me of the performance woven upper that we saw on the Jordan 29, which was one of the most amazing materials I've ever used on an on-court sneaker. So the CrazyLight Boost 2016 is fantastic in this category. I mean,